Welcome, welcome. And I am testing out my true crime videos and seeing how they are being received. So if you are enjoying this content, please like my video, subscribe, and that way I can see how my videos are doing. So today I am going to be discussing the Jacks in this case, as well as some other players that seem to all have names that start with the letter J. Okay, so I want to give a shout out to my fellow YouTuber Gisela with Grizzly True Crime. She's done an amazing job at covering this case and really clearly and concisely laying out the details for all of these different people in this case. So I am going to share with you who's who in this case, some details about them, and let you know whether or not I think that they may possibly be involved. I'm also then going to follow this video up with another video discussing the ones that I think could be potential suspects. Let's start with Jack DeCoeur. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He is Kaylee's ex-boyfriend. Now, they share a dog, apparently, and that dog is Murphy. And Kaylee and Maddie were actually really trying to get a hold of him the morning of the murders, right before they were murdered. And it is speculated that he actually lives very, very close to their house. Kaylee's family has come out and said that they support Jack 1000% and do not believe that he's involved. Now, does he have a motive? In my opinion, yes. Does he have access to the house? In my opinion, yes. So I will be adding him to my list of possible suspects. Now, the next Jack is Jack Katovitch, and he is a frat brother of Ethan's. And there was a little bit of like Venmo activity going on. So apparently the night of the 12th at 11:40, Ethan had sent Jack a Venmo. And another thing that kind of came out is that Jack K's sister also received a Venmo from another person that day, the 12th, saying 3:30 a.m. as the memo or message for that Venmo transaction. So of course that kind of raises some eyebrows, just because, you know, the murders took place between 3 and 4 in the morning, the following morning. Another thing was that Jack K did start a GoFundMe page as soon as he found out about the murders. And all of these details, do they mean anything? I think they'd be very, very easy to find out what that message 3:30 in the morning meant. I really don't, with what we've got here, I really don't see that he's involved. So no, I won't be adding him to my next video. So then the third Jack is Jack, also known as John Showalter. And he is who everybody is referring to as the white hoodie guy at the food truck. But that has not been verified. But let's just say if he is the white hoodie guy, his actions at the food truck that night, from what you could tell by the video, is that he walked with the girls from the corner club to the food truck, and he was only there because of those girls. He didn't order food. He sat and watched them and waited for them to get their food, and then they take off, and he kind of was just left there. He did tell the tan hat guy, Joe Vidot, who was also at the food truck that night, that he was just watching, wanting to watch to make sure that the girls got home safely. At this point, I am going to go ahead and add him as a possible suspect. So now let's move from the Jacks and go to Jake. Now, Jake Schriger, I think is how you pronounce his name, was Maddie's boyfriend. And he did speak at the memorial service for all of the students, and it was pretty heartbreaking. He said some very beautiful things about not only Maddie, but even the other students. And you can, he really, really did love Maddie. And I guess they were friends for like a year, and then they started dating, and they had been dating for about a year. He's a few years older than her, but they were actually planning on spending the Thanksgiving holiday together and with family. It's my understanding that Jake lived in Boise, Idaho, which is about 5 hours away from Moscow. The police did not mention him as being someone they didn't suspect was involved in this, as well as Maddie's parents haven't come out and said, that they believe one way or the other if he's involved or not. It is also rumored that he is friends with Jack S. So that may be why Jack was with the girls, wanting to make sure they got home safely. But again, that's just speculation. I personally don't see, with the information that we have, I'm not seeing that he is a potential suspect, so I'm not going to add him to my video. Now let's discuss the neighbor, Jeremy Reagan. And he was very forthcoming with information, and he did several interviews. The unfortunate thing is then they villainized him and were accusing him of possibly being the murderer because he does maybe have some, he's kind of quirky. And it really is ridiculous how far some people will take it to actually start harassing them and even make death threats. I personally don't think he's involved. When I saw the interviews, I didn't see any red flags to make me feel like he was a killer. So I'm not going to be adding him to my suspect list. I do have to say, the tan hat guy that was at the food truck, he was interviewed. And when I heard, what was said, he really did kind of rub me the wrong way. His name is Joe Vidot. As I mentioned, he was talking with the white hoodie guy as well. And my first impression was he was really paying a lot of attention to the girls, and he made several kind of derogatory comments about them. He mentioned how they were, very, very drunk, to the point where he actually said ew when one of them passed him, I guess. He said that the girls didn't pay for their food, and that the girls were catching a lot of male attention at the corner club bar. Again, he seemed to be well aware of the girls, at the corner club bar, at the food truck, and then even as they were leaving, he did say that he saw a car there, and some guy actually get out of the car and yell to the girls to come on or whatever. So to me, he seemed like he was paying a lot of attention to them. Now, unlike the white hoodie guy, he did have a purpose for being at the food truck. So he did say that he had gone out with a neighbor that had just moved into town from Moscow. So, and you can see them on the video. He was standing next to a girl and then another guy. And he was ordering, he had ordered his food and was waiting for his food. So that's why he was there. You can actually see in the video that Maddie does kind of stumble past him a couple of times. And then later on in the video, you can see her point in the direction of either, either Joe or the white hoodie guy and say, F you, mister. So you kind of wonder what was going on there. Joe did end up doing another video to kind of address all of the negative things that people were saying about him and to clear some things up. After seeing that video, I do feel a lot better about him. It really is easy for interviewers to maybe exaggerate or distort the truth a little bit in order to keep, their articles interesting. And it does appear that maybe that was done in this case. Joe made the comment that the interviewer did kind of embellish on some of the things that he had said. As soon as he did find out about the murders later on that day, he was very, very concerned if it were the same girls that he had seen that night. And once he found out that they were, he actually did go to the police station to let them know exactly what he saw. He did talk to the white hoodie guy for a while and said that he did not get a bad vibe from him at all. He did go into more detail as to why he said ew when Maddie had passed him, and bumped into him, I guess, that night. And a lot of people think, oh, what a weird thing to say, blah, 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 but maybe not. I mean, he obviously did not like that. And is that weird? I don't know. And it sounds like she maybe bumped into him at the corner bar. And then as we can even see in the footage, we can see that happening too at the food truck. He also talked about the car that came and picked up the girls and how he did not remember the color of the car. But the interviewer kind of kept pushing that detail and asking, well, was it dark and that sort of thing. And so that's what ended up being put in the article. At the point in the video where the girls had gotten their food and taken off, Joe went up to the food truck guy and asked, did you just give them their food? And I thought, God, how nosy. I mean, mind your own business. What difference does it make? But he actually explained it like he thought it was really cool that the food truck guy was taking care of the girls. Now, I still think there's a miscommunication there, and that the food truck guy probably said, yes, I was giving them their food, because they did pay for their food. And, but he thought that he gave them, food for free, and thought that that was a really nice thing to do. And as I mentioned, initially, I thought it was really suspicious that he was watching those girls so intently, but he did state that he was sober that night. And it's a lot easier to remember, a lot of details when you are sober. So as soon as he heard about the murders, he was like really trying to think of every single thing he had noticed that night so that he could, tell the police that. And I'm just as guilty. As soon as I heard about that interview, I had my own, preconceived notions of him. And it's just really sad because, here are these people that want to help, and, they end up getting torn apart and even accused of being the murderer. So it's sad that we end up doing that. But like I say, when I actually did hear him talk and explain what was going on, I really don't believe that he was involved at all. So I'm not going to be adding him either to my video. Now, the last J I'm going to talk about is James Curtis Leonard. And this guy was actually arrested December 6th, 2022, so just prior to the murders. And he allegedly was assaulting his wife. They live about a mile from the house that the students were murdered at. And He was also found guilty of manslaughter and spent time in prison for killing somebody who was outside of his house. And this was back in 2007. The wife actually had spoke to the police and said how they are really tired of all of the harassment and actual danger, threats that are made. She feels like she feels that her family is in danger because of false things that have been spread on the internet. And so this woman is actually defending her husband, even though he allegedly was, beating her and stalking her with a knife. And he is being held with a $100,000 bail because of what happened on Tuesday, December 6th. I don't think he's involved because his DNA would definitely be in the system if he was, in prison in 2007. And from my understanding, the DNA that they had found at the crime scene, they did put in the system and there were no hits. So in my opinion, I don't think this guy is involved either. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and check out my next video where I go over and speculate, in my opinion, who I think could possibly be involved in this case. So please be safe, and I hope you have a great day.